to another edition of the BlueWhite Tailgate Pawcast. Mike Gross, the Gross Rational Product, Frank Banani of the York Daily Record, and Andrew Calista here to take you on a wild ride as Penn State gets ready for homecoming, generation of greatness, and the Northwestern Wildcats hitting the trifecta, gentlemen, on what a week it is to be Penn State football. We don't have to talk about anything that's already happened in Penn State football. Press conferences, UCLA, right? Am I correct?
No, you're wrong. You're wrong. You're mistaken.
We're not just going to sit here and rip on Penn State for 45 minutes, are we?
Hold on.
43 and a half minutes.
Let me check my notes. There is some Northwestern talk at the end, so we will get there. I'm going to say right now, no guest this week. A lot of players not wanting to talk about Penn State football. Players that are in the program, state media, they've kind of gone into hiding. Not a lot of we'll say action out there on the socials. So they're in bomb shelters right now. Let's jump right into this. And before that, I say wrapping papered, since there is no guest, wrapping papered in Conshohocken, your premier gift wrapping destination with custom designs, especially for Penn State, licensed Penn State gift wrapping. Maybe Pat Kraft will be calling them for parting gifts later on in the season. We'll see how that turns out. Topic to jump right into the press conference impressions on Monday. And guys, I have never seen a press conference get so much attention at all in the Penn State world, whether it was introducing a coach, whether it was anything. Maybe this was the most paid attention press conference since John Surma fired Coach Joe Paterno.
I thought it was the most scrutinized press conference that I've been a part of, with the possible exception of some of the Paterno things that you're in that era that you're referencing. It was amazing how many people were watching and listening and even reacting to criticizing us, doing critiques of our performance as well as of Franklin's. And I thought our colleagues did a really good job of asking him. You got to remember that a press conference, we're attempting to gain information and insight and maybe some analysis from the person who's being interviewed. We're not trying. There's people out there that think, well, if James only understood how disgusted I am, he'd coach better. I mean, that's what they're implying with what they're saying. And that's kind of insane to me. But I thought that there were the questions that should have been asked were asked, and I thought James did as well as he could do answering them. And I thought it was interesting, and generally I thought everybody came off okay.
Yeah, I think fans also got to remember that a lot of things they want answered, it doesn't do us any good to ask them the questions the way they want them answered, because we're, like you said, Mike, we're trying to get the man to actually answer our questions. Okay, so to come right at him and say, basically, why does your offensive line stink? He's not going to play along with that. So then we get into a situation where he's not really answering anything. Okay, so we have to, that's part of this, is we're trying to get some answers or some insight to things without with actually getting him to speak about this. And it's kind of a little bit of a dance, I think, going on all the time.
I've been in a White House press room. I've been in there a couple times. It's a dance. And a lot of people think it's a zero-sum game. And we talk all the time off of camera, out of press conferences, about how to go about asking questions, because if you ask a certain question, it's just not going to get answered. It'll be shut down. So if that gets the people gets the people in the room, myself included, a pat on the back from the people that are fans, I guess great, but it's not really serving a larger person. And I'm a terrible question and asker in the media role. I'd much rather ask the players. I'd much rather ask James Franklin during the COVID era outside. I'd much rather ask James Franklin and the coaches outside on a Wednesday. I'm telling you, like, My question for Wednesday, tomorrow at practice when we drop this podcast, I'm going to attempt to have answered. James, you've said a couple times in the past after the Ohio State game in 2023, after the Michigan game in 2023, you guys didn't call the plays as you drew it up. We talked about in the week leading up. This week, you also said you talked about getting Katron Allen pregame more carries. Why is it not translating? And if it all stops with you, why are you not jumping in to change that? I don't know if it'll be answered, but I'm going to attempt to do it on Wednesday.
Well, and he was asked very specifically on Monday about Katron, and it sounds like they are at least considering getting away from this more or less equal distribution of the workload between him and Singleton. And you could say, well, they should have had that. They should have known that 3 weeks ago. Well, okay, that's fair. That's fine. But I mean, I thought there were a lot of specific questions like that. I mean, he was asked, have you lost the locker room, and are you worried about losing the locker room? He was asked, are you going to make some changes to your staff? I mean, these are, questions. If you expect one of us to say, hey, James, are you looking up real estate agents in the State College area right now? That's just going to piss him off and accomplish nothing. Right?
Yeah. 100%. Did he win the press conference? I say win, like I said on Twitter, dare I say X. Because you can't really win, but
you can't really win, but like, let's say some goofball had asked that question I just said about the real estate thing, and James got mad. Well, then then ESPN shows James getting mad.
Yeah,
and, you know what I mean. Would that mean he lost the press conference, or would that mean?
I don't think he lose. I thought he handled it good. There were minimal deflections. There were, and yes, you could nitpick the answers about. Well, he said this and this didn't happen. In that, like, we're not doing that. I'm saying about just taking the press conference as a whole. Frank, you've seen more of these than any of us. Just how did he come out of that in the grand scheme of things?
I think he came out of it about as well as possible, because you also got to remember that no matter what he thinks, for example, the answers could be, he can't speak freely. I mean, nobody in that position really can, because then you'd be potentially ripping on your players or your coaches, and you depend on them at the moment. You can't separate yourself from all of these people or certain ones, right? You have to be able publicly to have an image and to keep yourself together. So I think he did fine with that. I think he held his tone together well. I think he came off as professional, about as caring as you can be without getting emotional. I think one thing, the theme I kind of took from his answers, because he didn't give answers, and he did it to me in a way that makes it sound like he's frustrated. He didn't expect this. And I just keep coming back to his assistant coaches. And I really think a lot of this, to me, kind of has to fall on his staff. And he's certainly not going to say he's going to fire anybody, but it almost seems to me like he's got himself into a staff that look like the best one that money could buy, and it's not turning out that way at all. At all.
1-800-LEMON-LAW.
I think, and I'm not saying that any of those guys are not necessarily worth their stock, their money, but I think under this situation, they're not getting what you think they should from the offensive coordinator, the defensive coordinator, the running backs coach. I mean, we could go on and on. I feel that from his answers. I feel it.
I kind of was struck. It's interesting that you bring that up, Frank. I was kind of struck, and I actually wrote about this with how he answered that specific question about, are you thinking about making some changes? Because he was not dismissive of that idea, really. I mean, he didn't say, I'm going to fire some of these guys, but he was saying, hey, I believe these guys have great reputations. I believe in all of them. but it's a result-oriented business. You know, I can't remember exactly how he worded it, but I was kind of struck with the fact that he was less dismissive of that question than I expected him to be.
I would have liked to see a little more fire. If you're a Penn State fan, I would have liked to see a little bit more fire.
Well, and that may be really what some of the fans are.
Yeah. Instead, it was, guys, we've done it in the past. Like, I understand the fans' frustrations with that because your internal hype machine has made it very clear, and the way you've carried yourself at Penn State, the past does not matter.
Did you think, Andrew, though, that he's shying away from? I mean, he got pretty emotional at times in the past, like after the 2018 Ohio State game, and he is still taking crap for that 7 years later. So, and there's things where when he first started and the whole, the way he was like kind of more like a salesman, he took a lot of crap for that. He's changed to me, the way he appears in public. And I think, I'm not saying it's right, but I think part of that could be from the experiences he's had. I mean,
the famous or infamous, we've gotten comfortable being great thing that he said. Remember that? We're great and we're not elite. We've gotten comfortable being great. The famous, we're going to get in the submarine and cancel everything out. I was kind of hoping with my question, for some version of that. I didn't think he was going to say that, but some, like maybe 2025 looking at this particular team version of that, which is why I was trying to get him to not say, well, we're not executing or we've been inconsistent or whatever, because why are you not executing? Why have you been inconsistent?
You gave it a try. I mean,
yeah, that's what I was going for. And if that's not there, it's not there. I mean, I think he has changed. I think Frank's right about that.
Maybe the longest asked question of a James Franklin presser, because you were really trying to get him to the point that you wanted an answer.
Well, since Bernard Fernandez.
Yeah, I was laughing. I was laughing.
I like how Mike, when he gets, this is a compliment. I like how when you get your question, and Dave Jones had a version doing this too, being able to almost act like you're just having a one-on-one conversation question with him. And that's not easy to do in this setting, but I kind of chuckled a little bit because I'm thinking Mike is just acting like James is it's just him and Jimmy, James, whatever, in a row together.
Well, I'll be honest with you. I gave a lot of thought to what I was going to ask.
Yeah, but it actually didn't look like that, which is what I'm trying to say is a good thing.
It really did. I think more than any other presser, but anyway.
It's a good.
The national media is super loud, and that's where it's been loud fan base wise before. It's been loud locally before. I remember going on Corey Geiger's show after the Pitt game or before the Pitt game and say James Franklin loses this game to Pitt and follows it up with a dud in a big game before. James Franklin has to start looking for real estate. That was leading into Minnesota. I remember saying that on this show again. But the national, it's something different from Andrew Klissa on Corey Geiger's radio show in 2016 and some of the noise in 2021 because of what you were coming out with. There were always these people saying, no. Now the national media is on a bandwagon. That diminishes the recruiting. That diminishes the panache of the NIL coming in. This is a real issue that he has to address somehow.
Sorry to interrupt you, Andrew. I saw a clip from the Dan Patrick show. I think it was the Dan Patrick show. And he said they took a poll of their audience who had the worst weekend. And the choices were Texas, maybe the Yankees, the guy on the Arizona Cardinals who dropped the football before he crossed the goal line and cost his team a game, and James Franklin. And James Franklin got more votes than the other three combined. I mean, I've been struck with the way the national media is all over this the last couple of days.
Yeah, he's taken on where if they don't do at this point what everybody thinks they should. They're going to get criticized no matter what. I mean, that's partly what you do when you go play football at a place like Penn State, and then you ramp up all these expectations. If you don't come through, but then if you fail like this, people are just waiting for you. I mean, they're waiting to pile on because you need somebody to pile on. Who is it going to be? But he's the easiest target, and I think part of it's his personality. I don't think it's wrong. I really think he is who he is. But I don't think it's like the Notre Dame press conference. I thought that was pretty benign, right? Half the rest of the world thought it wasn't with his interaction, right?
That was another very, very interesting.
I think a lot of people like that his behavior there, even though I thought it was benign, that rubbed so many people the wrong way. And I think it's partly, the way you saw it at the end of Joe Paterno's time. When things went wrong, it's like people were waiting. A segment of people were waiting for their time to pile on what they maybe what they were thinking, wanted to say, wanted to feel. I mean, completely different situations. I'm sorry, but you know what I'm saying? I think it's partly him as a lightning rod.
And plainly, Marcus Freeman was one of the people who did not think.
Yeah, I get that. And you know what? Coaches don't stick around as long as James at any place. And I think that's part of it too, because his situation has been exacerbated by his time at his length at Penn State.
Yes. Yeah, that's right. I agree.
If you're Pat Kraft, have you spoken to James? Have you spoken to the staff? What are you doing if you're Pat Kraft, Frank?
I think you definitely have spoken to James because if anything, you want to be there. Yeah, I don't know, maybe a better word is comfort, but you want to be there. Like, what do you need? What do we, how can I help? Because it's a tough time. I don't think you're going in there saying, what the hell's going on? How are you turning this around? How are you doing it next week or else? I mean, I can't imagine you're getting anything like that. You're getting support, right? Because I believe that Pat Kraft has believed in James Franklin. That's the only kind of feelings I've gotten. And I don't know if 2 games or not the kind of start to a season you believe in is enough to change all that. I mean,
if they win out, which I think that's particularly unlikely given the way Ohio State is playing. Because Ohio State, I think, is clearly the best team in the country. I know Miami. A lot of people want Miami because of resume, but what they're doing right now and what that quarterback is doing, first-year starter, and what that defense is doing, first-year coordinator after post Jim Knowles, I mean, they are clearly the number. I mean, it's going to be a huge mountain to climb for them to go to Columbus and win. But if they do, and if they win out, this might be seen as one of the great coaching jobs in recent memory. I mean, it could be a 180. It's crazy to think about.
Before we dive down that hole, and we are getting the positives, believe me, I'm not going to sit here for an hour and rip on Penn State, even though it's good for ratings. This isn't cable news. We're not going to do that. Throwing my old profession under the bus right there. That's perfectly fine. The last thing I'll say is, and I wanted to read this tweet out, and it was from Tyler Davis. I mentioned it post game. It's not that we lost. This is the former kicker for James Franklin and former captain. It's not that we lost. It's that we showed no heart, no fight. As alumni, as long as you play your hardest at Penn State, we are there supporting you. This year, I just don't feel it. We need to get the edge back. Penn State holds an identity. This team is not upholding that identity. And I thought, coming from a former captain, and I was down on the field after Oregon, I heard the disgruntledness during overtime and, even right before that as the comeback was happening. I thought that tweet was telling that that's a former player that's pretty recent and one of James's guys, a captain, saying that.
I don't think effort is the problem. If this continues to go off the rails, I think it could be a problem. And again, with such a veteran team, so many guys, so many key pieces who could have gone and would be in the NFL now, and so many pieces who are going to be in the NFL next year, that could certainly be an issue. But I don't see effort. Now, I don't see effort being a problem. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe I'm wrong about that.
Yeah, I mean, I think I get what he's saying. Like, I don't necessarily, the body language strikes me, I don't know if that's even the right word, at the beginning of games. Like, I mean, I just really would thought, for example, the offensive line would be nasty and just crushing people in certain ways. I didn't see that. But as far as like not having heart, I mean, no matter what you think, they were on the verge of getting beat down against Oregon and came back and could have won the game and almost did. So when you're down 17-3 at home, you could be embarrassed to the point where you don't have heart. I don't think that was the effort, obviously. I mean, you're getting embarrassed by 20 points against UCLA. Now, you came back. I mean, you changed some of that. If you have no heart, I don't think you do that. I don't think, like James said, they were very smart in the way they played at times. They have deficiencies that maybe we didn't expect personnel-wise. But just to blatantly say they have no heart now, I don't think I'd say that yet.
No.
Not yet.
I got you. So now we're moving on to Northwestern. Generation of Greatness uniforms. The piping is back on the collar. Whatever that logo is there, I'm just saying them. It was never on a uniform. Why is it on a Generation of Greatness uniform? Whatever. Branding.
I love how they made a big fuss about that on social media. Like, oh, that'll ease everybody's anger.
Soothing. Like you tell an infant and a newborn, since I'm in that phase, self-soothe. Whatever. It was dry water is what it was. All right, so what needs to change going into this weekend that we know about the program? Obviously, you have to get a win. But for James Franklin to turn this season around, because, as Mike kind of already alluded to, there is things out there, and it does need to be said, it could be a great coaching turnaround. I don't think it's going to be Ohio State to kind of turn around because they lost to their rival. Losing to your rival is 100% different than losing to a team that has already fallen off a cliff in UCLA. And somehow they had a grappling hook to get right back up to the top of the cliff. But, so it's a little bit different. But they could conceivably win at Kinnick at night, if they win at Northwestern, win at Kinnick at night, somehow beat Ohio State. And it will be so Penn State fashion to go into Ohio State and actually win this year with everything that's already happened. That would just be a kick right to the fan bases, you know what. And run the table and beat Indiana. Now, it's a tall order, but it's possible because it's still out there. It's also possible the wheels come completely off. So what needs to change in your guys' mind to make the former happen rather than the latter?
Well, I would say a couple of things. One, I think the offensive focus has to change a little bit to Katron Allen and then play action and drive the ball down the field with the passing game. I think that has to change a little bit, and maybe utilizing the tight ends and also. I mean, that's always a factor. And then the defense. I think. They've got to develop some depth. They've got to develop some of these young guys. That's for sure. And they also have to just get more used to. Apparently, they don't really know what they're doing in Noel's system enough to play fast and loose and decisive. And so that has to change.
Yeah, I think offensively, I would agree to a point. They need to go to what their strengths were supposed to be. I think this still seems like they're just being too cute with things. I like to see them throw the ball to Trevor Pena, not use him on jet sweeps all the time, for God's sakes.
I don't get that.
I think you might have to be able to lock in your identity and talk to your offensive line and act like you're going to ride them Now, especially against Ohio State, I think that's your key. But even before that, I think you got to get that line and those running backs, even if it's one or both, whatever, just Katron, so be it. Get them moving downhill. And again, like you said, play action and work on your basics and not make things so complicated, because it's not working. And maybe Andy Kotelnicki isn't a great offensive coordinator for a pro style offense. That's a whole nother problem, maybe question. But I think you got to go with your strengths on offense and try. I don't know if you can simplify things on defense, but Jim Knowles cannot be stubborn. I did not see a lot of adjustments defensively in that UCLA game. And if you're as good as what he's supposed to be, you should be able to figure something else out with your linebackers. Use Zakee Wheatley as a spy, for God's sakes, on your quarterback. If you can't do it if Dom DeLuca can't do it, well, don't let Dom DeLuca embarrass himself and your defense out there. Figure something else out, right? You're the highest paid coordinator in college football history. And I think it's going back to some basics.
Yeah, I think
right?
Zakee Wheatley could be a guy something like what Marcus Allen was for Penn State. A downhill, almost a safety who almost played like a linebacker downhill. Remember that game where he had like 25 tackles or something like that? I think Zakee Wheatley could be a little bit of that, and maybe that's an adjustment you have to make. But look, Jim Knowles knows more about this stuff than we do. Right. I mean, but that seems like a reasonable thing to look at when you just don't have the speed at linebacker, or maybe you have the speed and playmaking ability with one linebacker,
right?
Campbell.
Let's let Jim Knowles. Yeah, he's getting paid the money. I'll let him try to figure this out for another week or two. I'll focus more on the offense, and I just keep coming back to the offensive line. And when I say assistant coaching, there is some huge disconnect with that offensive line. It makes literally no sense. To me, it's the biggest mystery on the entire team as to why that group is not excelling from day one. There is something going on there, and I don't know what it is, because you have the unit that was arguably the best on the field by the end of last year that returned everybody but Sal Wormley, and they added guys. Cooper Cousins is a year older, so on and so forth, and they don't look like they can move people off the ball, whether it's Nevada or whether it's Oregon, and I still cannot get it.
And it's not crazy to say that it seems like Kotelnicki is coaching as if he knows he doesn't have a good offensive line. As if he's trying to dance as fast as he can to get around the fact that he doesn't have a great.
But that's not going to work, and why should it? What's the deal? Nick Dawkins, is every guy hurt on the offensive line and still playing?
I mean, we don't know.
Governor Shapiro, hold on. I got President Trump on the other line. President Trump, hold on. I'm going to merge this phone call. Can you guys sign an executive order that the offense just goes with what Frank Bodani and Mike Roche just said? Run downhill. Run downhill. Like this is, it's not hard. And there is one variable in there, and I don't want to throw the player under the bus, but Cooper Cousins needs to play. Keith Conlon Goon brought it up. I mean, he's prototypical. He's a mauler. He's AQ Shipley 2.0. Like,
especially with Bunko apparently not 100% physically.
So you brought in a transfer who doesn't know all this, doesn't know what everybody else is doing, as Keith was talking about that. I'm not saying like
you're talking about Shanahan.
Yes, I'm not saying TJ's the issue. All I know is Cooper Cousins was effective last year. Cooper Cousins is mean. Cooper Cousins needs to develop also for next year.
Was a
5-star recruit. Has leadership qualities out the tail. Cooper Cousins needs to play more. I don't care how we play, how they get him on the field. Get him on the field. Like, put him as a fullback and run downhill. I just said where's George Carlin? What is that?
My guess is that's not going to happen.
I know it's not going to happen.
Unless they bring in Neil Rudell. Bring in Neil Rudell as an offensive analyst.
My guess is you ask James Franklin that, and he'll just say that Cooper's been inconsistent, because that's his word of the year. And I don't, it's like, why is he not playing? To me, there's something he's not doing. Okay, but I don't know what it is, right? Or he should be playing. And to me, he would.
This is the biggest mystery of all of this. The playbook simplifies if the O-line is winning.
And here's the deal.
It expands if the O-line is winning. Nick Singleton's a better player if the O-line is winning. The wide receivers are better. Drew Aller is better. You know what I'm talking about.
Yeah. I mean, Stan Drayton is supposed to be a great running backs coach, and and I'm sure he is. But is he the right match right now for Nick Singleton? I don't know, for example, right? Because it seems like we hear this, Nick is thinking too much, Nick's trying to learn too much. Maybe it's like you couldn't envision this being not a good match, but there's another example. Something's not working in Nick's mind, and so
Penn State's offense is literally Richard Gere in Pretty Woman trying to drive the Lotus. Just dropping the tranny left and right.
Comparison been made.
He can't handle the stick shift. It's literally a sports car that you don't know how to drive a stick shift, and you're just
who's the driver in this analogy? Kolnicki,
I guess.
Okay.
I mean that he's the one calling plays for. It could be anyone. You could Andy. Pick any of the villains right now in the novel. It could be James. It could be Andy Kotelnicki. It could be Drew Aller, even though he played pretty decent on UCLA. Would like to see him throw guys open. It could be the receivers. And I'm not convinced that the receivers, they keep getting a bunch of hate. They did it every other places. Receivers that couldn't do it at Penn State are doing it other places. Like, that's why I can't believe
Harrison Wallace is the leading receiver on the number 4 team in the country or number 5 team in the country.
Yeah.
How about that?
So that's it. I'm not giving out player of the game. No Lions roar. I think the fan base would kind of agree with that. It was kind of.
I'll give a player of the game, and I don't care.
Yeah, positivity. Hold on. Let's let the lion roar. Okay, Mike. Who gets your lion roar for the game?
Drew Aller. I thought Drew Aller played well. I thought Drew Aller played as hard as he could. I thought he ran the ball very effectively when he could see that was available, and that was available a lot in the second half. And when the other team is man covering and they're clearing out space, he wasn't unbelievable. He still had some of the issues that we've talked about before. And again, you look around the country and see these guys who are putting up unbelievable numbers at the quarterback position. But I thought he was, in the context of everything that was going on, I thought he was very good.
Yeah, he was better. I thought he was more composed than he's been all year. And I thought, he ran the ball really well off plays that weren't design runs. Yes. I mean, really. So he was able to not just recognize it, but run hard. Like, it's almost like he knew that he needed to do that to help his team win the game. Like, he ran like that. These were not supposed to be easy runs planned for Drew Aller. He just knew that they had to be done, and he did it, and he took the hits, and he was their best offensive weapon. I mean, continually every game he makes at least still 1 or 2 NFL quality throws. That touchdown pass to Hudson was one of those, right? But there is still a disconnect. Not getting Devontae Ross, your most dangerous player, 1 catch in the game, is an issue. Now, I would like to go with shout out Amari Campbell again, because where would that defense be if they did not get that guy? I thought he was important pickup because he was a linebacker and he started, but I had no preconceived notions that he would be literally, arguably, maybe their best defensive player so far. I had no thoughts that would happen, but he's doing everything he can. And I think it's worth at least mentioning to people, like, that guy's playing his pants off, man. And
he plays with a lot of fire. I mean, anybody who thinks that they've given up, there's one dude who has not given up.
Yeah, but I think, we'll go back one more time. Offense, go back to basics. If you go back to basics, then to me, it's like, I don't care about the rotation and Nick Singleton's NIL contracts and why he needs to be out there. Katron Allen should be in the game on the last drive, shouldn't he?
Yeah, coaching malpractice. You guys inspired me to be a little positive. I'm going to give my player of the game. It's Katron Allen. Wasn't caught on camera throwing his helmet. didn't kick anything because he should be pissed. He should be pissed.
He's a tough dude, man. He is a competitor. That is very. It just oozes out of him. He is
adjustment. It's adjustment, right? I understand why they continued with the two backs. You don't just sit Nick Singleton because you want to try to get him going. What I just understand, again, I'll come back to, is adjustments. Yeah. So, okay, you want to do that, but isn't there situations where you can't? When they wanted to win the game and bleed it out at Iowa, was that like 2019 or whatever with Noah Cain, a freshman? They just ran Noah Cain. Didn't matter if they had three other backs. Noah was a freshman. They ran him and they just said, he's the guy tonight in this moment to help us win. And I don't get that adjustment, that feel. I don't understand why, and it goes back to why would you run the play they did to end the game? I don't understand that. And one crazy thing is now people are saying UCLA should have been 0-12 on TV. They did. I don't know what they did the first four games. They did not look like an 0-12 team to me. Now, Penn State took advantage. Okay, Penn State had some plays like the touchdown to Dinkins that looked like they were playing a team that struggled. But overall, I'm like, UCLA looked like a competent team. I know Penn State didn't play the way they should, but I don't know. It's like
coming into Saturday, I think Penn State actually has to take, I don't even want to say chances. You just have to kind of take shots that present themselves. Nothing is 100% guaranteed. So early on in the game, Hudson had the pass from Drew Aller from like on the left hash mark, left to right as we were watching. And it kind of got tipped, deflected. It was a little late. He double pumped and everything. But Ross was running down the field with only a safety over the top. And there's a ton of daylight between them. And I realize the flight of the path. You're not putting it on a zip and say the guy's wide open because you got to throw it out there and let him run under it. But that's Devontae Ross in a one-on-one situation with a safety. Who has better ball skills, Devontae Ross or a safety? Devontae Ross. So, and
it feels like he's been a little underutilized. I think that's fair. Yeah.
And it doesn't even match with the past of what James Franklin has done. Remember, Chris Godwin, they're not 50-50 balls. And I'm not putting Devontae Ross with, Chris Godwin and Mike Gesicki, but it's just a philosophical teaching. Tyler Warren, the ball was going into triple coverage all the time. Go up and get the ball. Here you have one-on-one with an offense that's supposed to be explosive, and the ball's being thrown into a hole with a defender in front that has a piece of it and a defender right behind the receiver. That's what I don't understand, and that's what I want to see come Saturday with a philosophical change that says we're going to be more aggressive, and this aggressiveness from the coaches is going to translate down to the players.
I think they will. I think they will try to run the ball and take shots down the field on Saturday. I mean, especially to your point, as you're describing this, I can envision it. I mean, some things just didn't click, like the play you mentioned. I mean, they had Luke in the end zone on that pass, and when you see the replay, it was a pretty good pass. It was a pretty good ball. Now, Tyler Warren, he probably catches that pass for a touchdown. But, and then and then Luke fumbling the ball away, and I mean, these are things that it's like little things are making everything worse. And it's like you just need some success. And I think I agree with you. The best way to get it, run the ball downhill, take some shots down the field when you have Devontae Ross, and maybe you have to make Drew Aller look at this more, right? That has to be part of the game plan.
I think the receiver
sweep the Trevor Payne, I'm going to throw up. So please don't let that in there.
Like shoot that into the sun, as they say. But yeah, you would almost have to like watch the coach's angle of the video and watch how the routes are being run, how open these guys are. I don't know how much to attribute this to the receivers, how much to Aller, how much to Kotelnicki. I don't know. It's hard to say, but it seems like those guys could be utilized more than they are. I think we could definitely say that.
I mean, the thing I'm like concerned about, with Kotelnicki is what I mentioned before. Can he run a pro style offense effective with a pro style quarterback? Because the more I see this, the more I'm thinking, and this isn't fair, but they kept the wrong quarterback for Andy Kotelnicki. Not that you shouldn't.
I mean, I don't.
They kept the wrong quarterback for James Franklin.
Right.
I will die on this hill. Go back to 2015. Penn State was struggling. James openly, and I couldn't find the bite in ASAP Sports transcripts about that's why we've always liked a mobile quarterback, because he could put so much pressure on the defense. It was almost like Christian Hackenberg's here, going to be the starter, going to play. He's earned that right. We have another guy coming in next year who's more fit to our offense.
I mean, you could even go back to Will Levis with this.
Right. He was more,
Yeah. I mean, I don't think that's unfair. I think there's a little bit of a disconnect here that maybe it's not fair to dump it on any individual, whether it's the quarterback or the coordinator or the head coach, but maybe it's fair to dump a little bit of it on all of them, because I think if you injected Kotelnicki and Franklin with truth serum and said, would you rather have a pro style or a dual threat, they would say dual threat.
Right.
Heisman. Get an appearance on him.
There you go.
I mean, the thing is that we didn't see Bo really lead a team. We didn't see him throw the ball. And when you use that, you're going to run him and you're putting him at harm's way all the time in the Big Ten. So how is that going to work over a whole season? So, I mean, I guess more my point is that you have a talent like Drew Aller, and he to me should be able to use this better, help him better. I mean, I don't see that from the offense. I don't see what, to me, it's like that last play of the game is it just sticks in my head as you have that guy as your quarterback. It's like McSorley in that Citrus Bowl in 2018 when you take the ball out of his hands. You got that guy. You don't give him a chance to win. You did not give Drew Aller, your NFL pro-style quarterback, a chance to even try to win the game in the end or tie the game.
Yeah.
The Jets sweep, and you're making Drew either decide to give it to Trevor Pena or pull it. And if one guy misses a block, which I think Luke Reynolds did, you're dead on spot. And I'm like, why are you doing that on your last play? Your last play. Do that on first down. You don't do it on your last play. You don't hand the ball off on 4th and 5 to Miles Sanders if it's your last play, right? It's like, I don't get this. And
I think
you don't leave Akeel Lynch to block Joey Bosa one-on-one. Like, these are
that's not a plan.
they're all things in life. Yeah.
Can't believe they didn't throw the ball because they didn't have Katron Allen, and so you can't run the ball. So why did you anyway?
All right. Pick the game. There are two more topics. I want to get to after the result. What do you expect to see in Beaver Stadium? And that's going to come after we pick the game. So pick the game. I'm going to go first. I know I don't normally do that. I'm going to pick Penn State, that somehow they don't mail it in, that the wheels are going to stay on the wagon. Oregon Trail, we found the general store. We got a couple more axles. The wagon is kind of repaired, and it's ready to forge a river into Iowa City.
Beautiful image.
You do cross the Mississippi to get to Iowa City, by the way.
Without question.
So, I'm going to go 27-21 in a kind of a slugfest a little bit with Penn State. A clunky is probably a better word. A clunky game, 27-21 Penn State.
I was the numbers that I had in my head were 24-13 Penn State. I think it is going to be a little bit of a slog. I mean, but Penn State's offense did some things last week, and we'll see. But that's what I got. 24-13 Penn State.
I think they find themselves. I'm not saying that they heal themselves or save themselves, but I think they find themselves and just do what they're good at doing. They did some of that last Saturday when they got way behind. I think they do more of it from the beginning. So 31-14 Penn State.
That's pretty positive. All right, so it happens. The win happens. If it's not an explosive game, I mean, there's going to be boos no matter what. Penn State, I think, could win 100-0 on Saturday, and there's going to be boos in the stadium at some point.
Oh yeah. It's going to be a scene, man.
So what is the Penn State wins and the alma maters happening? I've always been totally against this taking place. It's a sideshow. It's clownish. I hate it. How do the fans go about treating that? And what do you want to see them do? And what should they, let me rephrase that. What do you want to see from the fans after a Penn State win? And what do you think they're actually going to do?
I think that if they win and they win fairly comfortably, the angst will have eased a little bit. Time heals all wounds. I think they'll be, I don't think they're going to be wildly celebratory at all, but I don't think we'll see the hostility. If they win and win reasonably, I hate to use the word impressively yeah, that's what I think.
Yeah, I mean, I think Franklin, when he's announced before the game, will get booed badly.
Oh, yeah,
I think
he boos in the game early.
Yeah, so that's what I'm focused at, right? Because I think when you see negative plays, you see them stall out on the first drive, you're getting boos.
Yep.
Yes, there will be. I mean, if they win the game, I mean, the only people that stick around after they win isn't it just the student section, part of them, which I'm not going to go with my whole vision on what drunk 20-year-olds are going to do right after the game, for God's sakes.
It's so predictable.
I mean, I think like Mike said, you win comfortably, all is forgotten to a degree in that capacity for a week. It's going to be more the pregame and during the game that I'm really watching.
I would encourage the students and fans, no boos after the game. Not even if Penn State, if the wheels are coming off, if they lose, do not boo them after the game. Boo them during the contest as much as you want. I know that's a losing thought.
Yeah, they're not going to take your advice on that. Yeah,
it's just the coaches are making those kids stand out there for this whatever alma mater bull crap. If they lost this game, do not boo them at that point in time. They don't want to be there. They want to get off the field. My thing is just be silent at that point. Just be silent. Boo as much as you want during the game if it's going bad. You don't like the approval. But after the game, they just went out there. They put their bodies on the line. Don't do that. If Penn State's if they win, don't voice anything about last week's game as the team is walking off the field. It does nobody good. Again, whatever happens during the 60 minutes, fair game. Don't go back.
The fans will do what makes them feel good. They're not thinking, well, if I'm booing, is this going to be constructive? No, they're not thinking that. They're thinking this. It makes me feel good to let you know how disgusted I am. That's what it is. Let me ask you guys this: if they win, roughly like the way we predicted the final score, the three of us predicted the final score, are they favored next week?
Yes,
they're favored at Iowa next week.
Yes.
I don't know.
I mean,
no. I say no. I don't. Unless they dominate. Maybe even more so than Frank. You have the optimistic pick, among the most optimistic pick among us.
They say 31-14. You don't think they're favored by a field goal even?
I don't know. And obviously it depends on what Iowa does.
Iowa game in Wisconsin.
The nation is going to pound Iowa on that. At home at night, Kinnick. I don't think Vegas sets them as a favorite. I really don't, because that's a really tough game to pick. But James's track record isn't all that great out there.
I don't know. The odds. I'm not a gambler, but this piece of it always interests me, and I'll be very interested to see what that spread is.
Yeah, what do they? It's what the bettors. What do they think people are going to lay money on? So
Oh, I'm sure.
Yeah.
it has nothing to do with what I think Penn State should be favored or not. If they believe people are going to take this and just put money on Iowa, well, then yeah.
If I was getting 3.5, I'd put a $100 on it. Like I would. I would think,
Plus 3.5, you'd take Iowa.
yeah. If they're getting 3.5 points, I'd probably take Iowa because that place is.
I don't think it's going to be 3.5. I don't think it's going to be 3.5 unless something dramatic happens. I don't think it's going to be more than a field goal unless something changes on Saturday.
That's football in a phone booth there. Helmets disappear.
Yep.
Fans are incoherent at times. I saw that firsthand. They were yelling at me the last time I was there.
Well, you are controversial.
I didn't do anything.
You're going to have to learn to accept that.
I'm just holding a camera.
Mm-hmm. Well,
Yeah, interesting. Well, I guess we'll see.
You
Flying
can
in 40 games. Yeah, we'll see. Well, that does it for this edition of the Blue-White Tailgate Podcast. A lot to cover, a lot of scenarios that are hypothetical. We always love that, don't we? Yeah, Penn State versus Northwestern, homecoming matchup, generation of greatness. Buy the new jerseys, buy the stuff, support it. Support the program for all you Nittany Lion fans out there. I want to thank Wrapping Papered in Conshohocken for jumping on board. For Mike Gross of the Gross Rational Product and Frank Winandy of the York Daily Record. Remember, email the show, BlueWhiteTailgatePodcast@gmail.com. Post-game recap coming to you right after the Northwestern game. We want to thank all 10,000 of you and the close to 200 people that commented on our video after the UCLA game, trying to get those up every single week. So thanks a lot. Enjoying the ride with us. That's it for this edition. We'll see you next week.